All right, welcome to the second meeting of the House Standing Committee on Small Business and Information Technology of the 2020. Just a few reminders, please silence your cell phones. And if you are interested in testifying, please use the sign-in sheet on the podium by the door. And as a reminder, no signs are permitted in the committee rooms. And just a heads up, we have several committees meeting at the same time, so there could be some comings and goings and pauses. So hopefully we'll be able to get through this today. We're actually going to call Senate Bill 130. Call the roll. Please.
Representative Dotson. Representative Pfister. Representative Grossberg.
Present.
Representative Grossell. Representative Hodgson. Representative King. Representative Kulkarni. Representative Lehman.
Here.
Representative Lewis. Representative Tate. Representative Watkins. Representative White. Here. Representative Witten.
Here.
Vice Chair Lawrence.
Here.
Chair Gordon.
Present. Thank you. Okay, we will start with Senate Bill 4. If you would please come to the table and introduce your guests, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm Amanda Mays Bledsoe, State Senator for District 12.
Representative Josh Bray, State Representative, House District 71.
Michael Adams, Secretary of State.
Thank you all for being here. Would you like to go ahead and adopt the sub now, or explain
Please.
it first? Okay. Have a motion to adopt the sub? Motion by Representative Lawrence, second by Representative Pfister. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the sub is adopted, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. As you all know, the AI task force, of which myself and Representative Bray held over the last year, was both entertaining, exciting, and very complicated. And we are definitely engaging in new territory as we look to see how we regulate artificial intelligence as a country, as a private business, and then as a state. And one of the things that we talked about specifically in this bill is to make sure that we only regulated how state government was going to look at using artificial intelligence by state agencies, departments, and administrative bodies. Everything in the private sector is outside the scope of this bill. So I just want to say it more than once. This is only looking at how state government uses artificial intelligence. And the sub really has a number of technical changes. As you can imagine, how we define artificial intelligence is also continuing to change. Everyone has an emerging expert idea on the technicalities. And so this is something that I anticipate will be a first draft of a framework for AI as we move forward. But it won't be our last conversation as we think about how to use it right, because it's going to change. It's going to change faster than legislation will keep up with. And so really, Senate Bill 4 establishes a risk-based artificial intelligence governance framework to protect citizens, foster innovation in state government, and address concerns related to AI-generated misinformation in campaigns and elections. The bill is a critical first step in making sure AI is deployed correctly within necessary parameters. As we've talked about, it's going to be a challenge to keep up with the technology, but the end goal is to make sure that AI is used transparently, responsibly, and with human accountability at every level. The first section of Senate Bill 4, 1 through 3, really establishes a structured approach to AI governance and ensures state agencies use AI efficiently while maintaining transparency and oversight. It sets a strong foundation for AI governance in the public sector, but I think we would all agree that Congress should probably take a stronger and similar approach to how we look at the private sector, ensuring innovation, efficiency, and most importantly, the safety and privacy of American citizens. To standardize the AI governance and ensure accountability, Senate 4 mandates AI risk oversight. It allows to have the Office of Technology have direct oversight over how they look at administrative regs, how they disclose and use AI and conduct risk assessments. It establishes an AI oversight responsible for developing AI use standards for state government. Those standards must be as stringent as standards governing AI in the private sector. It also requires that cabinets and agencies must regularly report on their AI applications to the COT to ensure continued oversight. And at the end, December 1st, every cabinet must submit a report outlining potential benefit of uses within their agencies. And the goal here is to present those to the General Assembly to make sure that we are being mindful of how we use AI, but also maintaining human efficiency and decision-making at the root. So that's the big oversight kind of piece of the AI. The second on 4 and 5 is on elections. And Senate Bill 4 protects voters and candidates from AI-generated misinformation, notably synthetic media specifically designed to mislead the public. The bill requires clear disclosures when AI-generated content is used in political messaging, establishes legal remedies for candidates, and then creates safeguards to ensure AI does not undermine election integrity. Now, the sub does make several substantial changes. As I've mentioned, there are a number of states around the country who have passed very aggressive AI elections bills. Some have passed them several years ago, some are passing them right now, and they're also being challenged and continuously looked at. So I mentioned that to say it's a reality as we look at how to look at AI and how it impacts electioning. That being said, the sub makes a few significant changes. It removes images from the disclosure requirement, so it only targets audio and visual. It ties the disclosure requirements to the penalties already associated with disclosures by candidates in KRS already. It applies only within 45 days of a primary in general. And I will say that we worked very hard, Representative Bray and I, throughout this process, from the very beginning through the sub to now, to make sure that we're being mindful of the intentions of the task force and also make sure that it wasn't just one of us working on it. This is a collaborative and really hard lift that we tried to be very mindful of working together in that domain. And in addition to that, we worked very closely with Secretary Adams on their input. Obviously, not only is he our own Secretary of State, but as a forethought leader, I would say, in elections and First Amendment campaigning, he did provide a lot of insight into the final bill. And so I have him here as an expert and as someone who has some intimate knowledge of the changes we've made in case there are any questions. So if that, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to echo what Senator Bledsoe has spoke about. And we've tried our very, very best to make sure that we're putting in a responsible framework for the usage of AI within the government space. We have purposely left out the private sector because, you know, it's more appropriate that anything done in that space is done at the federal level. We want to make sure that Kentucky is friendly to the usage of AI because, listen, there are some great opportunities for AI usage within the unemployment system to help weed out fraud, to make sure claims are processed faster. There's great usage cases on inmate classification in different states, speeding up that process to make sure that people are eligible for programming at a quicker rate to reduce the cost of state. So there is the potential for all these different use cases of AI within state government to help not only serve our citizens, but to form some efficiencies in government. And then I do want to discuss the election piece as well, because we've seen a lot of different bills. We've had a lot of different discussions on how does this comply with the First Amendment. And we have been very, very careful to make sure that First Amendment concerns are taken into consideration. And so what we've done is looked at what the state of Texas has done. Their AI provisions have withstood the constitutional court challenges. We have taken those that have withstood that and incorporated those within the bill. There are some on both sides of the aisle that would like to see us go a lot further than what we have, but we have to be mindful of First Amendment considerations within this. We already require disclosures on political speech. This just goes one step further in that, and everything contained within this has been found to be constitutional through the state of Texas. So those are my comments. I do want to echo what Senator Bledsoe has said about the AI task force. Anytime you start to try to define what artificial intelligence is, my goodness, everybody has a different opinion. I believe we've done a good job in satisfying all of those for the most part. And the task force was very bipartisan in the wish to create a transparency structure for its usage within government. And because of that, I'm very excited to sit here today and discuss the work product from the task force.
Anytime. Okay. Thank you for your testimony. We do have a few questions. We also have someone that has signed up to speak against. So maybe let's go ahead and do that, and then we can see what questions arise from the discussion. Thank you. If you would please introduce yourself, and you may proceed.
Sure. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Michael Frazier, and I am here alongside to oppose SB 4 with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, America's largest First Amendment organization, defending the First Amendment and free speech rights of Americans and Kentuckians for the last 30 years. We appreciate Senator Bledsoe and also the AI Task Force and Representative Bray for their hard work on this bill. We also appreciate some of the changes made in SB 4 in the committee sub-update. However, we do make a point that there is no artificial intelligence exemption to the First Amendment. SB 4 is unlikely to survive, including the committee substitute. We oppose SB 4 because it would violate the First Amendment rights of Kentuckians. SB 4 is unlikely to survive judicial scrutiny. The First Amendment doctrine does not reset itself after each technological advance. SB 4's regulation of the use of AI threatens open political discourse in Kentucky and raises grave constitutional concerns. SB 4 regulates core political speech by targeting content about candidates, making its provisions unlikely to survive judicial scrutiny. Laws targeting core political speech have serious difficulty passing constitutional muster, even when they involve false or misleading speech. That's because there's no general First Amendment exception to misinformation, disinformation, or other false speech. That's for good reason. A general exception would be easily abused to suppress dissent and criticism. Under whatever heightened judicial scrutiny that will be applied, SB 4 is in jeopardy. SB 4 covers vast amounts of constitutionally protected speech, including political opinions expressed through AI-edited content depicting candidates for elected office. It does not provide an exception for parody or satire. A least restrictive way that's been identified for dealing with false speech in this context is counter speech, meaning a candidate can just make a public rebuttals about AI-edited content, just as they do for other falsehoods or misrepresentations that arise in the course of a campaign. And as said, there is no artificial intelligence exemption to the First Amendment. Narrow, well-defined categories of speech not protected by the First Amendment exist, such as fraud and defamation, which Kentucky can and easily has already restricted. Existing laws are adequate to address injurious false speech, including AI-edited content, but SB 4 is not limited to fraudulent or defamatory speech. By allowing candidates to file a lawsuit to block ads that may violate SB 4's vague standards, the bill would invite candidates to turn political campaigning into lawfare. Candidates could gain an unfair strategic advantage during an election cycle by making claims of violations for the purpose of subjecting a rival candidate to the burdens of litigation that take time and resources away from their campaign. This potential for abuse threatens to do much more harm than good to the integrity of our elections. And because no reliable means exist to detect whether media has been digitally edited, this law can easily be weaponized to challenge nearly all campaign-related media featuring footage that a candidate simply does not like by claiming it is AI-generated. To cast a serious chill over electoral discourse, a motivated candidate need only file a brevity of lawsuits of complaints that rise the cost of critical expression to an unaccepted level. Compelling discourses for content regulates and suppresses speech. SB 4 provides that synthetic media, quote, does not include content that contains a disclosure, end quote, and includes an affirmative defense for challenged content that creates a disclosure. Government-compelled speech, and that's what a disclosure is. Whether the cursed speech is an opinion or fact, is generally anathema to the First Amendment. That's because compelled speech undermines everyone's freedom of conscience to control their own expression. Government-mandated disclosure on political speech that have survived Supreme Court scrutiny are those that identify the sponsors and sources of financing for certain election ads. They are easily distinguishable from SB 4. They were upheld in large part on the basis of government interest in preventing corruption, which is not implicated by the use of AI. They require an objective factual disclosure, whereas SB4 requires speakers to add a disclaimer based on a subjective judgment that characterizes the content of their message, i.e., whether the message contains edited material that produces a, quote, fundamentally differential understanding or impression, end quote, than the original. Disclosure of information about campaign financing does not mislead voters, whereas mandatory disclosures in SB4 could. If the ad is not misleading, but the candidate wants to err on the side of caution to avoid litigation, they may include the disclaimer anyway. This would create the impression for the viewer that the ad is synthetic or potentially misleading, despite the fact that it is or not. AI is a serious contention, and we understand the good intentions of this bill. But the situation does exist that there is no artificial intelligence exemption to the First Amendment. And I appreciate the Secretary of State and also the good senator, but I have to say that as the firm that is actually pursuing litigation in Texas, Alabama, Louisiana, and other states here in the United States, I can say, and as was said in testimony, that most of this bill has been modeled from Texas. The comments that I have read today does come from the firm challenging the state of Texas, including the constitutionality. Part of the litigation in Texas did upheld one line. That, too, is now being challenged and is currently being amended in Texas. Artificial intelligence and technology is rapidly updating. It's a hotbed, and we understand that the concerns are grave, especially trying to preserve election integrity. However, I would point out that that's reason not to pass this bill, to let the land settle a little bit, particularly when it comes to litigation, and come back to it, so that we can have more clear defined areas in the law, especially here in the Sixth Circuit, where the First Amendment is prized as most. And in quoting Judge Sutton in Bible Believers versus Wayne County, Michigan of 2015, if there is a reason for us to have the First Amendment, to have the highest scrutiny applied, it is thus in political speech. And Section 4 and Section 5, which is our main opposition, it does counter political speech.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Frazier, for your testimony. Senator Bledsoe, if you would join with your guests to the table, and we will entertain questions from members. Okay. Representative White?
Yes, Senator, you said this bill was being contested some. Have they come to any settlement or conclusions on the contesting this bill in court?
Well, not ours is not under contesting, but might I allow Secretary Adams to respond to some of the questions about litigation? Would that be all right?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll be real short. I've spent about 20 years doing First Amendment law. I got started doing work for press organizations in Kentucky. Then I moved into campaigns and outside groups, issue groups. So I know this area pretty well. You all may remember the Citizens United case from 2010. The part everyone remembers is that 5-4, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations are groups of individuals and they have their own First Amendment rights. But it was a two-part decision. Other part of that decision was a challenge to the disclaimer law. And that was upheld 8-1. Scalia was for it. John Roberts was for it. All the conservatives, except for one, 8-1 decision. Disclaimers are constitutional. And the case that Citizens United partly overruled was McConnell versus FEC, which upheld the stand-by-air ad disclaimers in federal campaigns, which are a lot more stringent than what's in this ad. The federal law says you have to say in the ad, I'm Kamala Harris, I approve this message. I'm Donald Trump, I approve this message. That's a lot more stringent than what we have in this bill or what we have currently in our law. Based on concerns that were brought to us, we made a lot of changes, as was referenced. The image part was taken out. Now it's just a video or an audio. It's awful hard to enforce whether an image has been altered. You know, what's the lighting? Is it too dark? Is it too light? Right? That would lead to a lot of litigation potentially, but this is just altering a video of someone speaking or an audio or a video of someone speaking or doing something. The most important change here is taking out the prior restraint. As you all may know, if you run for office and you run an ad, it is illegal for the station to take your ad down if you pay your bill, even if your ad's false, even if your ad is challenged. It's illegal under federal law for them to take your ad down. The original version of this bill provided for an ad to be taken down by a judge. That's been changed. There is no prior restraint here. That is a First Amendment issue. This is just requiring a disclaimer. There's no monetary damages. Originally, the bill allowed for that, people to sue each other for money. That's been taken out. And the last thing is, as was referenced earlier too, we already have a disclaimer law in the state. And this one actually is not as tough as that one. Right now, if you run an ad, say paid for by Vanessa Grosso or paid for by Dan Pfister, then the KREF can hold you liable. This has the same penalties as that, but it requires essentially a second chance. You have to be sued first and then violate a court order to use a disclaimer before you can be held liable financially for not using the disclaimer. So this is a real light touch. I agree that we should also come back to other parts of this issue in future sessions. I hope that we will. But these are really significant changes that I think would comply with First Amendment jurisprudence. Thank you.
And to answer your question a little further, Representative White, the provisions that we have in the bill has been found to be constitutional in the state of Texas. So it has already withstood constitutional scrutiny. And I just want to make sure that we're all clear what we're talking about as to what the bill does. I mean, we are all, at some point in time, we have all been candidates. And we have all had to put some kind of disclaimer on advertisements or signs or anything like that. All the bill says, it doesn't talk about truth or anything like that. All the bill says is if you're going to use an AI generated as a candidate, we're not talking about the public, we are talking about us as a candidate. If you're going to use an AI generated audio or video, that you just say it's AI generated. That is it. It's the same kind of disclaimer that's already withstood constitutional scrutiny, like the Secretary said. This is at a bare minimum what can be done on the issue. And like I said, there are a lot of people that want us to go a lot further, but we've been very cognizant of the First Amendment issues and felt like what we have is on good ground.
Thank you. Representative Grossberg.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you all have here. The last couple of years, I worked with my freshman buddy, a Republican representative, on having a bill that addresses AI, particularly with reference to deep fakes. And I see in this bill that you've adopted a great amount of the intent of what we had done and at least preventing false campaign advertisements where any one of us can be put in a compromising situation with false audio and video. And obviously, I'm all for that. I'm all for this. You've heard me on the House floor say that we can't stop the future, but we can prepare for it. And that's what we're doing. But my curiosity is, can you commit to me that in the interim we'll work on those other areas that I do want to see us move into? Because we do have a right to be protected against the blackmail and extortion that can take place with manipulation, but so do ordinary citizens. Ordinary citizens find themselves losing funds, losing reputation. They can find themselves on the internet in sexually explicit material that they did not consent to and did not even participate in the production of. It's not just elected officials and candidates. So I am very much in support, but do I have your commitment that we will work on expanding those protections to ordinary citizens as well?
Thank you, and I'll just take a first stab. I think we're going to continue to look at this issue in the interim on a number of fronts. Like Mr. Frazier said, there are firms continuing to sue, right and wrong, on some of the states that have passed stronger measures than what we have. And so I think the law is going to continue to adapt, as it should in court when they make decisions, and states are going to have to respond to those. And if changes are made in Texas or California or in ours, then we're going to have to continuously look at this legislation. And I think as it turns not just to election officials who are doing their jobs and candidates, but also to private individuals, that's something we've all talked about. It's still very new space. And that's, I guess, what I'll leave with is this is not an end conversation. This is a continual conversation. You have my commitment to certainly at least continuing that in the interim.
Okay, thank you. Representative Kulkarni.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for your presentation and for bringing this legislation. I think it's really important to get ahead of this. The development, the proliferation, the utilization of AI is much faster than our court systems and our legislative process as well. My only question has to do with like cost or the burden on the Office of Technology. I mean, is there anything additional they would need to be doing, or what does that look like?
So a lot of what the bill does just outlines the framework for how they would go about approving the usage of AI. So a lot of this is just guidance on things they are already doing. One of the most eye-opening things within the AI task force was we had different cabinets come in and talk about how they could utilize AI, but we haven't got a grasp on a governance structure from that. And, we've had COT in on a couple different occasions to talk about how they saw a governance model. They had committed to us to get a plan, and we haven't received that. But this is our best good faith effort in putting together just common sense practices, right? Like something like, if somebody wants to use AI within, let's say, transportation to identify potholes, we just want to know, like, okay, this would be the application of how we're going to use it, and this would be the desired outcome. It would save manpower. It would provide us a better roadmap of potholes. We just want the transparency so that our people know how it's being used, and to make sure that we as the legislative body are comfortable with it, because I don't think any of us want AI to be used to deny Medicaid claims, and I don't think the administration would want that either, but we just want that transparency piece so that we're comfortable in providing some kind of oversight role.
Thank you.
Representative Lehman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I would commend everyone who worked on this very thoughtful piece of legislation. I'm very strongly in support of it. Similar to what Representative Kulkarni brought, I do worry a little bit there's no appropriation here. And, we're asking a lot, and I think rightfully asking for a lot. I guess, without an appropriation, I'll vote yes. I wonder if at least, to give the Commonwealth Office of Technology more time than December, maybe till next year or something to bring the report. I'm just worried we're going to get a not very interesting report this December if we're not realistic about how long it takes to deliver quality work. But again, I think these are minor things, as you've said. This is the beginning of a very important long-term discussion. So I am supportive, and I hope we can appropriate the necessary resources to make this work next session. So, thank you.
We have a motion on the bill. Do we have a second? Motion by Representative Pfister, second by Representative Lawrence. Seeing no further questions, please call the roll.
Representative Dotson. Representative Pfister.
Aye.
Representative Grossberg.
Aye.
Representative Grossel.
I'd like to explain my vote, please. I want to thank everybody here for their thoughtful work on this. I'm really impressed with Senator Bledsoe leading the task force and coming with these wonderful recommendations. This is the kind of work that sets my soul on fire. As many of you know, I spend my time working in the tech sector and startup environments. And so anytime we can modernize government and move forward innovative policies to progress our state, I'm typically in favor. I'm going to pass today and hope to be able to support this on the House floor with a couple of amendments that address sections 4 and 5. But again, just really appreciate you all, and thank you for your work.
Representative Hodgson. Representative King. Representative Kulkarni.
Yes.
Representative Lawrence.
Explain my vote. Thank you guys for being here today. I did have a lot of questions about it, and I want to just say thank you all for the changes that you have been willing to make. This is a lot about the work that you're doing, that you are trying to do the right thing, and it's not just your idea. You want to work with others. So today I'm going to be a yes, and just want to thank you all for the work you've done. I hope we can continue on with that. Thank you.
Representative Lehman.
Yes.
Representative Lewis.
Aye.
Representative Tate, Representative Watkins, Representative White.
Yes, I like to. I'm still a little bit uneasy on not educated enough on this issue, and I'm going to be a pass on this, please.
Representative Witten, Chair Gordon.
Yes. Okay. Representative Watkins, would you like to record your attendance and register a vote?
Yes, I've recorded attendance and yes on the bill.
Okay, yes. The measure passes with favorable expression, and same should on the House floor. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And Representative Witten, did you want to record a vote on Senate Bill 4?
Yes, I'm a yes. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Now we have Senate Bill 130. Senator Maiden, if you would come to the desk and introduce any guests, and you may proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Scott Maiden, Senate District 29.
Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Stiglitz, and I'm Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the Kentucky Retail Federation.
Great. Thank you both for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee members. I'm here today to discuss Senate Bill 130 that will address gift card scams and the theft of gift card redemption information that's impacting our communities across the country, including communities right here in Kentucky. Just last year alone, local police in the Commonwealth uncovered separate $1 million plus gift card scams targeting supermarkets in both Louisville and Lexington. Gift card tampering and scams are emerging as a new intensifying dimension of the border organized retail crime phenomenon across North America. This type of fraud is frequently carried out by multinational criminal rings, including some with links to China, and it's connected with broader illegal activities such as money laundering, fentanyl production, and distribution of illegal migration of human trafficking. While card users, distributors, and retailers have implemented numerous preventive measures, sophisticated fraudsters adapt quickly to circumvent those measures. To counter this threat, industry leaders are collaborating with federal, state, and local law enforcement authorities, regulators, and stakeholders to develop and advocate for legislation that assigns clear criminal penalties for gift card tampering and scams. Providing law enforcement the tools they need to arrest and prosecute perpetrators is essential to dismantling these criminals' enterprises and ensuring protection of gift card customers. You say, how does a scam work? Individuals called takers swipe a shelf of gift cards, manipulate the cards to obtain the redemption information. The information is recorded, placers return the gift cards to the store shelves, customers purchase and activate cards, criminal checkers await activation and begin draining the gift card balance. The crime is against the consumer, many of whom may not know for months until they use the gift card that is tampered with. This bill, Senate Bill 30, has a committee sub that we worked on with the Kentucky Department of Public Advocacy to create this, making this a felony. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by by Representative Lawrence, and the second. Who was the second? Representative Grossell.
Yeah.
Okay. And do we have any questions? Okay. Representative Kulkarni?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for presenting today. I just had a question about the creation of another felony. Is there not something in existing statute that would cover this sort of activity?
Thank you. I appreciate the question so much. The part of the issue with this scam is that in about 90% of the steps of this scam, there is no value on the card. And so what ends up happening is then what they have in their possession while they're in the process of tampering it or before it's activated by the consumer, which then it's too late, there's really no value associated with it. So what this is doing is essentially taking where they would manipulate the gift card that may have a value from $10 to $100 or $100 to $500, and saying that that face value and you tampering with it is what creates the felony and how it will be based on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I might add to that, it's been my understanding that this is not creating a new felony, that there's already a or a felony, and we're just adding this to that bucket.
That is correct. There is a credit card fraud statute, we're adding gift card fraud to the statute, but the gift card tampering would be a Class D felony. So there's,
Exactly. Thanks for the explanation. Representative Pfister?
And correct me if it does. Okay, good.
Okay. All right. And as a point of personal privilege, I want to thank you for bringing this measure. I've been on both ends of this spectrum, and it's no fun. When you give a gift expecting, and then you kind of want. So thank you for the bill. And would you please call the roll?
Representative Dotson. Representative Pfister. Yes. Representative Grossberg.
Aye.
Representative Grossel.
Yes.
Representative Hodgson.
Aye. And I'd like to record my attendance as well as a yes vote on Bill 4.
There is no committee sub. Sorry, he said the Senate committee substitute. Sorry.
Representative King. Representative Kulkarni.
Yes.
Representative Lawrence.
To protect my Lowe's gift card, yes.
Representative Lehman.
Yes.
Representative Lewis.
Yes, I'd also like to record my attendance, please.
Representative Tate. Representative Watkins.
Yes.
Representative White. Yes. Representative Witten.
Yes.
Chair Gordon.
Yes. Okay. Passes with favorable expression.
Thank you.
Same shit on the House floor. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Representative Hodgkins, do you have a vote you'd like to record?
Yes.
Okay. Yes on Senate Bill 4 for Representative Hodgson. Is that it? Okay. Motion to adjourn. All right. Thank